Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and our friend Andrei Martyanov is back with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Andrei, I want to talk about the situation in Ukraine and the difficulties between the two administrations, the Putin administration and Trump administration. But before going to that, we have a discussion here on this podcast about the situation between Iran and the United States.
Mhm.
And we have three parties, considering one of them is believing that the United States would attack Iran and they would destroy Iran. They would destroy everything unless Iran tries to negotiate with the United States. The other party says that Donald Trump would attack Iran, but they're not capable of doing it. We have been witnessing the fight with Yemenis. That shows us the capabilities of the United States. And the third party is not believing that it's all a show that Donald Trump is doing, and he's not going to attack Iran. How do you find it? What's your analysis on the way that the Trump administration is behaving?
Um, well, let's start with the scenario of annihilation of the whole nation of Iran and the country, and that will mean the end of the United States. In a sense, not only just it's going to turn the international community, all of it, against it, and that will be the end of Trump administration. That will be the end of the American prosperity, and that will be the end of the American legitimacy as a nation. So we have to keep this in mind. And there now second scenario. Whenever U.S. military talks about war, we have to understand the American understanding of war is stay the hell away from anywhere, and using whatever the United States has in terms of long range fires, attack somebody, which is primarily bombing, launching some standoff weaponry. That's the only level of the operational planning Pentagon is capable of doing. United States is scared crapless of putting the ground troops anywhere near with even the armed forces of Iran, because it's not Iraq, obviously. And if you take a look at the basically the terrain, which is nightmarish, it's nothing like Iraq. There are obviously deserts, but I mean it's all mountains, and so except for some, mostly the seaside, places. So United States is not equipped to fight the ground war. It's not equipped to fight the ground war against any enemy except for there's something like Afghanistan, Taliban, and even there it's not effective. So the only thing is that the United States plans. That's the only way they can prosecute anything in terms of military involvement. Is there some kind of intel operations, something like they are, oh my gosh, they impressed with the Israel's blowing up the Hamas leaders and things like that. So well, yeah, it's their sandbox, but most of it is about regime change. This is the only thing United States can do, and even that is not good enough now. So I won't call that it is only for the show, but if United States wants to go this route of eliminating the Iran as a state per se, I don't think it's going to end up well for the United States at all. I mean, and as I already stated, it's going to completely destroy the remnants of their old, world, and we're going to be living in a different civilization for that matter. So, not to speak about the fact that the response will be most likely first an elimination of any kind of the liberal or pro-Western opposition in Iran while it's happening, and then we will be living in the terrorist war. The American people will be taken hostage. The planes will be blown out. There's a lot of things which are going to be happening. So it's very unlikely scenario. But then again, the influence of the Israeli lobby, which is the main engine behind it, and those nut jobs from the Christian Zionist community, mostly evangelical Protestant, Old Testament type fanatics, which is the death cult of whatever the dispensationalism, rapture, and all that thing. So they're Christian Zionists for a reason, because their loyalty is not to the United States, it's to Israel and whatever the hell they are afraid of in their afterlife, So, and in this case, probably last two scenarios mixed. They may try to regime change, but it depends also how much of the inroads they have. They have some within the Iranian present government, and their assets, whatever the intel assets and sleeper cells they have there. Could it happen? They may try, no doubt about it.
Andrei, it seems that Donald Trump is trying to make a deal, and we had some sort of partial agreements between the two parties. What do you make of what has happened in terms of the Black Sea, in terms of the fertilizers, and they were talking about? Do you think that they're really serious about it? Is that because it was going to be implemented on March 18th? It's not. It's mentioned in that letter, but do you think that they're gonna implement it? Are we gonna see Ukraine again doing something, I don't know, something stupid, and they say, oh, it's Ukraine and we cannot? How do you see the case of Ukraine right now?
Russians are not stupid. Let's start with this, okay? Many people still think that Putin is naive boy, and he is surrounded by the same boys. Russians are boys and girls, they don't understand the warfare and international politics. I would say they are the best at it, but what do I know? I could be accused of bias, I'm Russian. So, but reality is, nobody expects any kind of of Ukraine following any kind of the agreements, okay? Russians do it deliberately. And I made the video on this when I was spoke to Irina Alksnis, the chief editor of the RIA News at the Politvera show in Russian. They can go and look it up. We've been talking about, and then suddenly Mearsheimer comes out and says the same thing, essentially. It's a bone. It is thrown. I wouldn't call it thrown. Russians are tactically, situationally aware about the happenings in the United States, probably better than Americans themselves. And so they have to give Trump now something. Although whatever the grain deal is, it's back to 2022 and 2023. It's nothing new. It's just, okay, let's go back to that thing. But it is something which Trump can go out and show, oh, you see, I got something done, so sure, absolutely. But Russians are interested in Trump to continue to do whatever he does. And hey, Russian, the agricultural bank, Agroprom Bank, and which is also, there have been sanctions lifted from it and plugged in back to SWIFT. And the moment Trump stated that Russian fertilizers are going back on line, you should have seen the stock market. I mean, whatever the commodities market in terms of the fertilizers, it just went out, the shares of all those companies. So it is all about that. And will Ukraine violate it? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, so Russians do it deliberately, as they do now with the energy. Oh, okay, we signed this 30 days partial. It's not partial. It's minuscule. It means nothing, but I mean, we signed this thing not to attack energy facilities. Well, guess what? Ukraine continues to attack them, So, okay, Russians are very deliberate, and in terms of exposing this whole thing. And do not forget, we have now this. It's not rupture really, but there are contradictions between the Trump administration and the European Union. Okay, so why not to play on them? And in this case, whenever we talk about, it's not partial ceasefire. There is no ceasefire. There is only thing which have been, Russians can easily give it, as even Mearsheimer, who was more wrong than he ever was right about everything Russia related. Even he understood and said, yeah, Russians throw Trump bone for his own internal consumption. he needs to present something that he has some kind of the movement on this track, because United States is stuck in the special military operation. And he tries to, he's finding and try to find off-ramp, and Russia's helping him.
Andrei, did you watch the interview of Steve Witkoff with Tucker Carlson?
No. I heard about it. I read some pieces of it. No, I don't watch interviews. I prefer to read things. And unless there's some like Putin or Lavrov speaking, then I kind of listen. And it's still, I prefer to read it. So, but I read something about this interview between Witkoff and Tucker.
Here is what he had to say about the case of Ukraine, Witkoff.
He's speaking to realistic, clear-eyed people who can, who have the welfare of Ukraine in mind.
So without getting into names,
yeah,
I've talked to multiple European leaders, and I've said to them, the more you encourage him not to be proactive at the peace table, the more you suggest that aid will continue without any conditions attached to it. No one says that we shouldn't aid Ukraine today or in the reconstruction later on, but it's got to come with certain conditions. If we're going to give a lot of money to Ukraine, we want to hear the business plan of how this is going to get resolved, because it's an unsustainable business plan if they don't have a plan for how it gets resolved. We just can't forever give money because they'll get ground down. And ultimately, and this is, we've discussed this in the administration, ultimately, what you can't have here is risk of any kind of nuclear action, even a tactical nuclear action. I mean, even if it's not a big bomb explosion,
doesn't matter.
Just a tactical nuke would take stock markets down all over the world.
Well, they haven't been used in 80 years. They've been used exactly twice in human history.
You can't allow it to happen.
It's not a precedent you want at all.
And while I think we have to get a fair deal for Ukraine, we cannot allow that country to drag us into World War III. And that's not my policy. That's President Trump's policy.
Do you see, because the way that Witkoff is talking about, you feel some sort of sincerity, the way that he's expressing. But do you think that would influence? He said that he's talking with the European leaders. Has that been successful so far?
I don't know, really, because the only thing most of those people do is PR. They spin things. You don't even need today to have this horse, from the, prostitutes from the media, which most of them are, literally. I mean, they are prostitutes. And but you have the politicians themselves, whose only skill in life is to stay elected and get re-elected time after time. You need to lie constantly and spin it and work for the, present a show, kabuki theater, to hoi polloi, who will continue to vote for them. So in this case, any kind of public statements, and especially with this repetition of the tactical nuke, why would you need tactical nuke? I don't know what they're talking about. So it is all PR. It is all playing for the public. Reality is grim for the United States, and especially for Europe, which is bankrupt. And I read today latest statements from European Union, especially regarding Kaja Kallas. So, and then suddenly the Southern Europe, France, Italy, Spain, they don't want to spend money, like whatever this von der Leyen tries to present to them for military expenditure. You cannot talk to those people. They are in a complete mess. Europe is done, essentially. When you look at that, they can say whatever they want. You have the only way you can understand what is going on, just looking at the facts and numbers. They even lie about numbers. That's why they have to lie constantly, And in this case, Witkoff, he might be very sincere, but as the case with most of U.S. military, U.S. intelligence, I read today the latest from the annual assessment from the Office of the Director of the National Intelligence. It's funny, really. So they are not aware. Really. They're getting better at it because obviously Tulsi Gabbard is trying now to clean up this mess, which is the Biden's organized crime group left. But the point is they're not going to change in the fundamentals. They will continue to be actually very much situationally unaware. Because it requires a really big time, the spiritual leap of faith, if you wish, to understand that, oh my God, we are in this situation. What are we going to do about it? For them, it is the process, of reconciling themselves to the reality. It is Kubler-Ross. It is the Kubler-Ross model, grief model, and we're probably at the maybe at the stage of the acceptance right now. But it's a long process. You cannot come out and say your military is impotent. You can fight only, let's say, Arabs. Okay, which is true, and even that they don't do that well, so you cannot fight the combined arms war. You never were good at it, so, and that's why I constantly said I'm sick and tired listening to this Gulf War thing. I mean, just spare me this, pain to listening to this. 18-year-old boxer, professional boxer, beat the 5-year-old kid in the sandbox. Oh my God, we're so good, so stop it. This is the reality. This is what you have to face. And you're not catching up. You're not closing this gap. You cannot close it, because this is how the mechanics of it happened. And the realities on the ground and the numbers are such that no matter what they do, what kind of reconstruction? Reconstruction of what? You see, that's the point. They need to put those pathos-ridden, phrasing or phraseology of the almost, the Marshall Plan for Europe after World War II. No, there will be no Marshall Plan for Ukraine because for starters, it's not Europe. And secondly, well, how about they deal with the Nazis first? And Russians are already clearly stating it is going to be denazified. Mr. Lavrov, who is definitely has way more weight than Mr. Witkov, he already stated clearly what the Ukraine is. It's a Nazi regime, neo-Nazi regime, controlled from London and Washington. You either, pull the reins on your son of a bitch, basically, or it's going the way of the, countries which simply disappeared from the history. So, and that's what is happening. And they need to constantly run this, blade running, run the fine line between the outright surrender and, as I already stated, Russians saying, oh, okay, here's the bone. Go present it at home and say that, oh, you see, we are moving. But Lavrov 3 days ago, same with Putin, until the root causes of this whole situation are not addressed, will be nothing.
Andrei, here is an article published in Corriere della Sera, the Italian newspaper. Do you think that the way that they're picturing the situation in Ukraine, and they're saying if Ukraine doesn't negotiate, doesn't get along with Russia, they're going to lose more land. How do you find the way that they're picturing in this map? Is that reasonable?
Well, it's Novorossiya. It's indeed Novorossiya, which I constantly point out that Vladimir Putin uses the term Novorossiya, which is the historically Russian lands, which especially Catherine the Great, played a huge role in developing, and all those cities from Odessa to Nikolaev to, Yekaterinoslav, which is they called Dnipro now, but it was Dnepropetrovsk, and before that it was the Tsarist times, Yekaterinoslav. So it's all Russian cities historically. So yeah, they are correct in pointing out that, the Novorossiya, that's what Novorossiya is. And Vladimir Putin uses this term now constantly. So, well, that's a hint, isn't it? So he talks about, Tom says, oh, we want, those, resources, whatever. And Putin said, yeah, sure, we can do the joint venture in Novorossiya when it's all done and over. So, I mean, and Putin is obviously not just great intelligence officer, he's a great lawyer. And he doesn't say things just because.
Andrei, I remember the last national security strategy under the Biden administration. One of the main points of that document was this confrontation between democracies and autocracies.
Yeah.
And do you feel that the Trump administration would update that, would change it somehow, would change the concept in the national security strategy, or there is still somehow the main sort of mindset in the Trump administration, which is totally in line with the Biden administration? We are democracies, they're autocracies. They have to change to become us. How do you see the Trump administration in that sense?
You cannot change American exceptionalism until it dies out completely. But internal American dynamics, especially cultural dynamics, considering utter lack of education and culture among American elites, you take anybody from them, take anybody out of the Council on Foreign Relations, they're morons, mostly of them. All those credentials, people, I was, whatever, Deputy Secretary of Defense for some garbage, I remember Richard Haas, oh my God, I'm such a diplomat, and those people really have no instrumentarium in the toolkit to really understand what is going on, because as I already stated, even American military Pentagon, they do not understand what is the correlation of forces and means and what it is based upon. They are taught primarily their economic views are derived from Wall Street legerdemain, financial legerdemain, and that is why, for example, when I read about all those investment, in the defense and billions of dollars, it's absolutely meaningless, So it's what you produce and how you produce it. And they don't understand how economically diminished the United States, for all its power, it's still major economic power. It's probably second economy in the world, but it's not what it was after the World War II, when the United States was actually responsible for almost half of the actual production, manufacturing of the world. Can you imagine this? The whole world in the ruins, and the United States comes out and it's half of the world production. That's economic superpower. United States is not anywhere near China. That is why whenever they write about the China is their threat, China is not military threat, but China already defeated the United States economically and defeated it by the knockout, So in the United States remaining this major economic power, the gap is colossal, okay? And so no matter what they try, no matter how they try this, it's like this famous anecdote from Russia, Soviet Union. The guy was working on the factory which produces children's cribs, cribs for toddlers. So once his wife gives birth to, to the child, and the guy is gifted, in his plant, manufacturing plant, the crib, and say, okay, this is for your child. So he comes in home, begins to look how to assemble it. He assembles it and he gets AK-47. He disassembles it again. Okay, here's the crib. He again assembles it, again AK-47. The same with the United States. No matter what they write, first, United States doesn't do good strategic intelligence. It simply is incapable of doing it. The strategic so-called analysis of the United States, as I already read today from their, the threat assessments, you sometimes get the feel that it's written by amateurs. And in this case, the only thing they have is this mythology of the American exceptionalism that we are so great. And even J.D. Vance, albeit he is correct, I have to admit he is correct. When he was telling Europeans that they are becoming totalitarian and all that, he was absolutely right. But democracy in itself doesn't make you something special. I mean, it's good to have it the way, it's perceived by many people. But United States itself, look what we had for the last 8 years. It was basically the construction of the American proper, governance. And we had today Trump declassified what? FBI documents, how he was surveilled based on the, insane sheer idiocy of Democratic National Committee. You talk about third world country, that's the third world country. And so, but they still will continue to operate and play around this pivot that, oh yeah, we're great, shining city on the hill. Used to be, but today we live in a completely different world. And it will take probably the complete reformation, if it's possible at all. I don't think so it's possible, of the humanities education, which most of the time produces in the Western world so-called political elite. Because American political elite today is stupid, ignorant, and impotent. And the only thing they have left is to stick to the good old guns of the democracy against our totalitarian things, and this we are the greatest and things of this nature. So this will continue, and in this respects, there will be very little difference between Biden and Trump administration. And Trump himself, he's a narcissist. Keep in mind, Trump's narcissism is in many respects a very American thing. America has a lot of good qualities. Some of them are absolutely admirable, and unique. But Trump is in many respects is this type of the thinking that, narcissist, flamboyant and thinking too much about himself. And the main game here is to cover up the greatest state secret of the United States, that it is nowhere as powerful as it always tried to project itself, because they are really good at spin, not very good at fighting wars, and especially in the last few decades, especially the last 2 decades, just basically ran the country into the ground.
Andrei, one of the main concerns in Ukraine is the aftermath of what would happen, and is the security structure between the West and Russia. And if we assume that Europeans together, today we had the Secretary General of NATO, and he's just literally denying everything. Here is what he said. Let's see what he said.
Of relations with Russia when the war is over. That will not happen. That will take decades because there is a total lack of confidence. The threat is still there. As I said in my speech, even if the war comes to a conclusion, the Russian threat is still there. They are building a war economy. They are spending so much money on defense. They are producing in 3 months an ammunition what the whole of the alliance is producing in a year. We are ramping up our ammunition production. Luckily, we have to. So there's no way that we can normalize relations with Russia after the war is over. You hope in many decades from now and post-Putin that there might be some, but I mean, I'm not optimistic.
How can we assume that these people can behave in a sane manner if they talk this way? Even they know that the Trump administration is not interested in this sort of attitude on their part.
They're Europeans, and no matter how and there are many European people who come to my blog, and they are good people, decent people, and they say, "Oh, we didn't vote for that." No, you did. And I'm not saying that they specifically people. I do not use the complete broad brush to kind of paint over this, but that's Europe. Europe is the existential enemy of Russia and Russian people. It was Europe which killed 27 million Soviet citizens during World War II. Anybody who tells me that Mr. Rutte is not a crypto-Nazi, I have a bridge to sell them. Most of Europeans are. That is why you had there, when Hitler was invading Soviet Union, hey, it wasn't just Hitler. There were 500,000 Finns who are responsible for 1.5 million civilian deaths in Leningrad. They were the ones who were holding part of the blockade of the siege of Leningrad. They were Romanians, armies, Hungarian armies, Italian armies. You hear what I'm saying? Armies, not some. We're talking about armies, strategic formations. Then there were, of course, SS divisions. Charlemagne from France. French have more SS people fighting and killing Russians than they had the so-called French resistance. They surrendered and lived really well under Vichy government. You had the Blue Division from Spain, Nazis, and we have the obviously SS division Viking. as you might expect from obviously the Scandinavian countries. You had the Dutch SS, so there you go. And guess what? They are lying. They already rewrote the history, and Europeans applaud that. And so that is why people say, oh, they will never, tolerate these people. Oh, they will. Look at France. They voted for the people who are killing them. And you cannot change this. So, and that's what will continue. And that is why I'm not seeing any kind of improvement between Russians and Europeans, because Russians are keenly aware what Europe is, and that it is existential enemy of Russian people. United States is a completely set. It is also existential enemy of Russian people, and there are many people in Washington, D.C. who are genocidal, and they would love nothing more than see their Russians killed, especially civilians. There are many people like that, including in Pentagon and CIA, because precisely they have no idea what real war is. But United States is indeed nuclear superpower, and superpowers operate on a different universe and different plane, and you have to find the modus vivendi. Because if United States and Russia, God forbid, go in war, United States immediately will accelerate to the nuclear threshold, because it has no serious conventional forces which can fight and win the war. And Russia will respond in kind. Guess what? The life on planet as we know it will cease to exist. So in this case, that's Trump evidently understands that, and this is good. And Europeans are not. So, and they will continue to do whatever they can, terrorism, all kinds of things against Russia and Russian interests. And they have good, teachers, Germans, and London. London is good to only against civilians. They are not good at fighting real war. So there you go.
How does Russia see the Trump administration? Do they see it as an opportunity to negotiate, to talk, at least to talk with? Because the Biden administration even was not capable of doing any sort of talk with Russia, which is crucial, by the way. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of sanity, and you understand the differences. You are interested in those sort of thoughts. How does it feel on the part of Russians, the Trump administration? Because we know that they know that it's not a long-term strategy on the part of the United States. Because someone else can come to power after Donald Trump, which could change it totally. But what is their vision toward the Trump administration, and what comes next, and what would be the next step for them?
Well, Russians view this as obviously an opening to start talking, at least, which is good. I mean, you want these two guys talking to each other instead of, a bunch of the imbeciles from Washington, D.C. and the fanatics, who do not recognize even the gender, sexes, to be in charge. And that's good. Yeah, you need to talk. But you're absolutely correct. I mean, United States has so-called foreign policy consensus. It is completely idiotic and completely detached from the reality vision. Again, based on what United States was, immediately after the World War II. But today, what can I say? So Russians will take whatever they can, and the rest of it, hell with it, essentially, because yes, you can only expect that, I don't know, Steve Bannon said that Trump was going to run in 2028. Come on, he's in a good shape, obviously, especially against the background of the corpse of Biden. But still, he's an old man. He's losing his, and you can see sometimes he's losing his faculties inevitably, which comes with the age. So if J.D. Vance may, be this the president of the United States after him, that probably gives you some opening. But again, United States political life, political system is so corrupt today, especially with the Congress being nothing more than for sale. Each congressman should wear the badge, how much it costs to have them, that it's very difficult to see how it could be indeed changed in principle. Only when the United States experiences, which I do not wish United States to do so, especially I being the Russian American, essentially, I don't want to experience this because I know what it is. United States doesn't understand what continental warfare is. Not a single American officer or military personnel knows what it is to defend their family, property, and what to see their children, women killed, raped, and things. They simply have no experience of that. Because of that, they live in this delusional world of the grossly exaggerated American military power, which really is not there. And that is the danger. And especially when you consider those credentialed frauds which are produced annually from all kinds of the Georgetown University, from Harvard, from Ivy League, who have no clue actually how the world operates, because you have to be really serious STEM guy to even start grasping what is going on. And when you have this bunch of idiots who make so-called American political elite, what do you expect? So you cannot prove it's a Dunning-Kruger. You cannot explain to average Harvard or Princeton lawyer or economist or historian that he's an idiot because he's an idiot. He will not understand that. They don't have the toolkit. And when you look at actually, especially the state of the American military and so-called education, which allegedly produce elite, United States didn't produce a statesman in a long time, okay, since the Bush senior. He was the last statesman. Will Trump become a statesman? We don't see it yet, but he may. He obviously failed miserably during the first term. And as I already stated, United States doesn't have statesmen yet, and all of them are politicians. All of them are there, as I already stated, the only thing they live for, to get elected, to feed into their, egos, to be loved and be admired by many, and to, of course, but through corruption, make money and, set up themselves for life. That's the only reason they do it. They do not understand what it means, the real good governance. And so what can I say? Will it change if, for example, Russians and Americans will negotiate something now? Will it change down the road? Absolutely. Look at how those morons at Bush Jr., because they're imbeciles, just read what Admiral Fallon said, General Tommy Franks characterized Douglas fate. It's profanity, but look it up. This is the guy who was behind the 2003 invasion of Iraq. That's those people, they didn't understand. They were breaking the only treaties which kept America on par with Russia. They did it anyway. And now they're, oh my God, what have happened? Well, that's what have happened. That's what you have, the bunch of the nincompoops in the Pentagon, in CIA, in National Security Agency, who think that they're so good. You're not that good. That's the thing which the United States has to accept. And once it accepts, if it accepts it, and if it understands what comes their way, if, God forbids, they really go out of their way to really harm Russia big time, I don't know. But again, as I already stated, Washington, D.C. is called the swamp for a reason.
Do you see any of the three Western European countries, the United Kingdom and Germany and France, any of them capable with what's going on, considering what's going on internally in these countries, getting out of this circle of insanity and getting more sane, getting more
No.
understanding? Don't you see any sort of...
No, I mean, look at Germany. They have this bunch of the crypto Nazis from the Christian Democratic Union. They have this Merz guy whose only, wet dream is to harm Russia. He is, then these cretins come in, and guess what? Do you know what they continue to do? same old LGBTQ all the way, green agenda. Germany is done. It's over. They wanted it. They voted for it. Okay. So, and same goes for France. I'm not sure that France will exist beyond 2050 as the unified state. You know, you will not find that easily the, for example, open letter of the former generals of the French army and intel services to Macron that the country is on the verge of the implosion and collapse, and there is actually the historical danger to French nation. Oh yeah, they wrote it. Look it up. Guess what? They have been accused of being panic, panic-inducing people and all that. You know, so yeah, that's how bad it is. You know, and France is already pretty much well, people, yeah, go to Paris and see for yourself, and then go to Marseille. You know, and I will be accused again of being racist and things like that. But France is becoming Arabized and Africanized and what have you. So, and it's not a European nation anymore. And same goes for pretty much everything. UK, it's a third world country already, with some here and there, you know, random industries left. And yeah, it's horrible. And they have no way of getting out of it because the change on the paradigm, economic, military, scientific paradigm, they're simply not big enough, and they're simply not smart enough to continue to be competitive. And eventually, that is what many people do not understand. Russians are done with Europe. If Europe comes to Russia and wants to buy something from Russia, sure, there's a, you know, global prices, the bottom line, no privileges, no nothing. You want to buy the gas, for example, sure, buy it for the, you know, spot prices, not whatever, you know, Russians were given. Germans and even Borrell, this alcoholic, you know, who used to be the, you know, big honcho in the so-called diplomacy in European Union, he admitted, that you can easily find it again, that for 50 plus years, European prosperity was based on the Soviet and Russian energy. It's not there anymore.
Andrei, here is what Lavrov said about in terms of the relationship between Russia and other countries who are considered as friendly countries.
Of comprehensive partnership and a strategic interaction with China are very productive. Our strategic relations with India is developing, and the deepening of friendly ties with countries such as Islamic Republic of Iran and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea are flourishing.
It shows that Russia has already decided that where they're going to be in the future and what do they want to do. Andrei, today I talked with Alex Krainer, and I asked him the same question and that I'm going to ask you. In the aftermath, we have to consider that what has happened in the aftermath of the collapse of the Soviet Union, for whatever reason that collapsing has happened, it doesn't matter. It made the world somehow abnormal. It's something so strange that you see a sole superpower running the world and dictating everything to everyone at every corner of the world. Doesn't matter if it's in the Middle East, in Africa, in Asia. They wanted to just dictate everything. It seems that Russia, after somehow trial and error, they were trying to get closer to the United States, to the West. They went, if you're afraid of us, let be part of NATO. And but they're getting to their original position. This is that part. It's a chain. It's that part of chain, that important, crucial part of chain is Russia. This is connecting these countries together, in my opinion. And do you think that they're finding their way? It's going to be totally different from what it was before, and they're finding a new way of future for they're picturing a new way of future for the country, but not only for Russia, but also for the region, for Eurasia, for Asia, West Asia, I don't know, whatever we can call it.
Yeah, Russian path of the last way or walk for the last almost 400 years, and especially accelerated after Peter the Great, towards West is over. It's done. Russians, overwhelming majority of Russians, do not identify themselves as Europeans anymore. There is a profound, wide contempt and sometimes hatred towards not only Europe, but towards European people. And it's over. And that's what people have to understand. And Europe is already becoming, and it will become less and less irrelevant with each passing year. And it will become just what they are. They're peninsula of the much larger Eurasian landmass. And if they want to kill each other, which they will, because all this European Union is a complete, stupid idea, because you cannot, coexist in the multicultural societies the way Europeans view it. And Russians, they need to erect, which is happening, the Iron Curtain, to not allow this filth, which is social and cultural filth coming from Europe towards Russia. And yes, Russian future is in the Eurasia, along with those anchor economies, gigantic economies of China. India is kind of getting there. So there isn't even Japan, which at some point, it's still being, it's an occupied country. But when you look at Eurasia, economic gravitas, so to speak, is there. West is not even a competitor in this respect. Take Russia, China, and India, you have about 70% of the world economy, okay? So you have to understand that this is what many people do not understand when they use this stupid index, which is gross domestic product. Russian economy is about 2+ times bigger than that of Germany. In fact, it's bigger than Germany and France put together. Throw in Italy for the good measure. And those people, as I already stated, in Harvard, on the Council on Foreign Relations, they have no toolkit. They do not understand how it works. And only now they begin to see some results of it. That is why they constantly have to spin things, like, oh, look how Russians are losing. Sure, yeah. But for some reason, the Russians do not panic, but it's the West, which is an incomplete hysteria. But yeah, again, listen, there is no honor, there is no integrity, which is endemic, or to speak, ingrained into the political institutions of Europe, for example. Okay? So yeah, what do you expect?
Thank you so much, Andrei, for being with us today. Great pleasure.
My pleasure.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye. Take care, Andrei.